that lesson, we considered the Deutsch algorithm. Let's now look at the generalization of this algorithm to the multidimensional case, that is, when the argument runs through neither 2, but 2 to the n of different values, where n is a natural number. Such a generalization will be useful since it even more clearly demonstrates the idea of quantum parallelism, thanks to which it is possible to simultaneously calculate the values of a certain function f for many values of its argument. In addition, the switching circuit of the new algorithm will contain such elements that we will need in the future, so it is advisable to consider them now in a relatively simple example. So, we will consider the Deutsch-Jozsa algorithm. This algorithm solves the following problem. We still have some unknown Boolean function f, and its values, as before, are equal to either 0 or 1. But the definition domain of the function f is now no longer defined using 1, but using n bits of information. The argument of such a function is a bit string or a binary number that consists n bits. For example, if n equals 2, then the argument of the function f will take the values 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, and 1, 1, which corresponds to integers from 1 to 3 in the decimal number system. If the function f for all 2 to the n of the argument values takes the same values, that is, it is equal to either only 0 or only 1, then such a function f is called constant. If for half of the values of the argument it is 0 and for the other half of the values it is 1, then the function f is called balanced. It is agreed in advance that the unknown function f is necessarily related to one of these two classes of function, that is, it is either constant or balanced. And the Deutsch problem is to determine which of these classes the function f belongs to. We firstly consider the solution of this problem using the classical algorithm. Suppose we were able to determine the value of the function f for half of the values of its argument, that is, 2 to the power n minus 1 calls to the computational scheme, which we will call an oracle. And suppose, for example, all the values of the function were equal to 0. At this stage, it is possible to assume that the function f is constant. However, there is a possibility that the next one, for any of the remaining half on the argument values, will give f equal to 1, that is, the function will be balanced. This means that in the case of the classical algorithm, in the worst case, we will have to make 1 plus 2 to the n minus 1 calls to the oracle to determine whether the function f is constant or balanced. As before, the Deutsch-Jozsa algorithm allows us to determine which class the f function belongs to in just one call to the oracle. However, before we go on to the switching circuit of the Deutsch-Jozsa algorithm, let's consider the action of the two-qubit Hadamer element, which consists of two ordinally Hadamer elements, each of which acts on its own qubit. For example, consider the case when two qubits in the state 0 are entered the input of such an element. Then, each of these zeros under the action of Hadamer's element goes into a superposition, that is, in the sum of the states 0 and 1 taken with a factor of 1 divided by the square root of 2. As a result of the tensor product of these two superpositions, we obtain the sum of 4 equiprobable states of two qubits, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, and 1, 1, taken with the same coefficient 1/2. In other words, if we have now compared each qubit with its own binary number, then acting by Hadamer elements on two qubits in the state 0, we obtained all possible values of the 2-bit string, that is 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, and 1, 1. Thus, if we worked in the decimal number system, we would iterate through all the numbers from 0 to 3. The state of two qubits 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, and 1, 1 are written as a sum over x states from x, where x run through all possible values for two-digit binary numbers. The latter could be emphasized highlighting x in bold. The result obtained for the two-qubit Hadamer element could be naturally generalized to the case of the n-bit Hadamer element, which you now see at the Deutsch-Jozsa algorithm switching circuit. To the input of such a scheme, n qubits in the state 0 and 1 qubit in the state 1, which constructs the state psi0 are entered. The first n qubits in state 0 are used to prepare various values of the argument of the function f with the help of the n-qubit Hadamer element. And the last qubit in the state 1 is used as before to create the corresponding relative phase factors f, that is, to create the necessary quantum interference between the corresponding states after the transformation of u sub f, carried out with the help of the oracle. After applying the Hadamer transform to the qubit state psi0, we get the state psi1. This state is a tensor product of the normalized sum of the states of all possible values of n-bit strings and the normalized difference of states 0 and 1 for the last qubit. Let's now write down the state psi1 when we have n control qubit and one target qubit. So psi1 equal to 1 over square root of 2 power of n, sum of the x 1 and 0 dimension n, x 0 minus 1 over square root of 2. Here x runs through all possible values of the n-bit string. So now we can write down the psi2 state. Psi2 equals to 1 divided by 2 to the power of n, uf. Here we just rewrite the state psi1. So it's sum over the x 1, 0, n, x 0 minus 1 divided by square root of 2. And as we should know, it equals to 1 over 2 power of n, square root of 2 power of n, sum over the all possible values of the n-bit string, minus 1 to the power of f of x, on the state of the second qubit 0 minus 1 divided by square root of 2. Thus, after performing the unitary transformation u sub f, we obtain the state psi2 in which each term in the normalized sum of the states of all possible data register values r received a phase shift depending on the function f for the corresponding value of the argument x. To simplify the further analysis, another n-qubit Hadamer transform is performed on the first n qubits. First of all, let's consider the Hadamer transform of the basic state x. The Hadamer transform of x could be written as 1 over the square root of 2, 0 plus minus 1 to the power of x on the state 1. For example, if x is the zero state, and then Hadamer transform of the zero state is 1 over the square root of 2, 0 plus 1. So in the case of the n-qubit Hadamer transform, so now we assume that x is the tensor product of the n of the qubit states x1, x2, etc., xn, and the Hadamer transform of the n-qubit state could be written as 1 over the square root of 2 to the power of n, state 0 plus minus 1 to the power of x1, state 1 multiplied by 0 plus minus 1 in the power of x2, the state 1, and so on. And this expression could be rewritten as 1 over the square root of 2 to the power of n, sum for the z1 who runs over the values 0 and 1, z2 also 0 and 1, and so on, minus 1 to the power of x1 z1 plus x2 z2, etc., on the state z1, z2, zn. And let's now assume that we denote the vector x as the set of numbers x1, x2, etc. to the xn, and that vector is the set of values z1, z2 to zn. With this notation, the expression could be again rewritten in the form of 1 over the square root of 2 to the power of n, sum over that whose values run over the n bit string, 1 dimension of n, minus 1 to the power of x z to the state z. And now we can consider the psi2 to the psi3 transition. So psi3 equals to 1 divided by square root of 2 to the power of n, sum over the x whose values run through n-bit string, n, minus 1 to the power of f of x, 1 divided by square root of 2 to the power of n, sum over the z values, minus 1 to the power x z to the state z. And all this we should multiply by the state of the second qubit. 0 plus 1 over the square root of 2. And let's write it in more convenient form. 1 over the 2 to the power of n, sum over the z, 0 and 1, sum over the x, over the all values of n-bit string, of minus 1 to the power of f of x plus x z on the state z, and on the state of the second qubit, 0 plus 1 by square root of 2. And here, this factor is in full amplitude of the z state. And let's assume that z state is a string filled by zeros, only zeros. So that 1 equals to 0, that 2 equals to 0, and so on. Dimension of n. That the full amplitude is sum over the x minus 1 f of x, and for arbitrary x, if f of x equals to 0 or f of x equals to 1, then the amplitude equals to 1 or minus 1. So sum over the x 0, 1 minus 1 of f of x equals to 1, and in this case to the minus 1. So if the function f is balanced, so for the half of the value of x it equals to 0, and for the other half it equals to 1, then the amplitude will be equal to 0. So, after the measurement of the first register, in the case of constant f, we obtain the string of n zeros. And in the case of the balanced function, if the f is the balanced function, sum of the bits will be not equal to 0. So the probability of measuring the string of n zeros will not be equal to 1. Thus, if the function f is constant, then when measuring the states of the data register, all its qubits will be in the state 0. Otherwise, the function will be balanced. That's all. Thanks for your attention.